Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Welcome and welcome to yet another edition of our program, The Hour of Politics. As always, with me here, Ansony Sieh. In today's edition, we have a very important guest, Mr. Aloysius. He is the SG, that is Secretary General of the Alternative National Congress. And many of you know there has been a lot of noise ongoing in the CPP, and he's here to provide us understanding from the ANC side. I mean, who would better have than the man who does the writing, who reads all the documents and controls the secretariat of this political institution? So he should be the guy, cloth with all the information we need for the clarity Liberia does need. Mr. Toe, welcome to the Hour of Politics. I think this is your third time, I'm not mistaken. Welcome again, sir.
Thank you very much, Ansony. Yes, precisely. This is my third time, and it's my pleasure to always be invited on your show. And I'm delighted to be here today. Thank you very much.
All right, and we are always delighted to have you here at Focus on Liberia, especially on our program, The Hour of Politics, because you are a political guy now. You know, you run the secretariat of a political party. A lot of issues ongoing. Of recent, the big noise is that, Cummings walked out of a meeting of political party leaders, as the CPP leaders. So our first question that we want to roll in here, did Mr. Cummings actually walk out of a meeting of the political leaders of the CPP?
That is correct. Alexander Cummings walked out of a meeting of the political leaders of the CPP, but he did not walk away from the CPP. The ANC remains an integral part of the CPP. We will continue to remain a part of the CPP, and we ensure that the right thing is done within the CPP no matter what.
And so, Mr. To, talking about walking away from this meeting and not away from the CPP, I believe there are some issues or concerns that he may have. So walking away, did that solve that problem for which he did walk away from that meeting?
Well, this is what actually happened. There were a few issues. There were some issues within the CPP. For instance, there was this wild allegation without any substance, without any substantiation, by one of the political leaders in person of Benina Ure, alleging that the framework document of the collaboration was altered. The framework document of the collaboration, which was presented to the Elections Commission, was altered. These were the unsubstantiated allegations by Mr. Ure. In light of that, the political leader who is of the Liberty Party, who is the current chair of the collaboration, constituted, in agreement with our colleagues, constituted a committee of 4 persons.
Go ahead, Mr. Toe. All right, folks, bear with us there. Mr. Toe will be joining us. Apparently, somebody tried to reach Mr. Toe. Okay, go ahead, sir.
To probe the allegations by Mr. Ure. And in taking that decision, the 4 political leaders were in violation of the framework agreement, because nowhere in the framework agreement do they have the power to constitute such committee. What a framework agreement does provide is, when there is a complaint by any member of the collaboration, which should be addressed to the chairperson of the collaboration, the chairperson of the collaboration must convene a National Advisory Council meeting. And it is at that meeting that the chairman must constitute, with the participation of the National Advisory Council, an ad hoc grievance and ethics committee to probe any allegation. And the composition of the grievance and ethics committee, the composition of the National Advisory Council is 5 persons from each political party, which will give us around 20 persons who are supposed to make that decision. contrary to the explicit provision of the framework document, the chairman constituted a committee of 4 persons.
All right, it seems to be somebody's trying to get, okay.
From
Mr.
one
Tour, are you still with
independent person. Are you? I'm still with you. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yes. So she constituted a committee of 4 persons. One person from the Liberty Party, 1 person from the Unity Party, 1 person from the ANC, and 1 person from the All Liberal Party.
Okay.
Contrary to what the framework documents say, where in fact experts supposed to be brought in from the outside to strengthen the grievance and ethics committee. So on realization that the 4 political leaders were in error, and based on consultation with his legal advisors and the executive committee of the ANC, Mr. Cummings wrote his colleagues and told them that, look, I was part of the decision that we made. But on second thought, I realized that we are in error and we are in violation of the framework document. So I'm entreating my colleagues to reverse the decision and take the right decision, because the earlier decision we took, we did not have the authority to take it. It is the National Advisory Council that should take that decision.
All right.
So there was a call meeting in which he went and he tried to convince his colleagues to reverse the decision.
Right.
The colleagues went ahead and legitimized the unlawful and illegal decision, ignoring and slighting the views and the contention of Mr. Cummings. Such action, which is in fact another violation of the framework document. Let me tell you what it said. Section 7.1 of the framework document reads that the alliance shall utilize the principle of consensus building based on good faith as one of the key guides in dealing with matters of contention within the ranks of the alliance. For the avoidance of doubt, good faith to meet the interests of all constituent parties shall mean that all decisions of the CPP are reached upon the consent of each member party of the alliance or by unanimity. So there is no way it says 3 political leaders must rule by majority. They say all 4 political leaders must at all times agree.
So, Mr.
But Madam Yombi Kanga Lawrence ignore.
Yes. Go ahead. I was just about to
Madam
ask
Yombi Kanga Lawrence ignored this explicit provision of the framework document and decided to listen to 2 other political leaders and take what I will refer to as unilateral decision, void of the agreement of the ANC. So, Mr. Toh, of the framework agreement.
Mr. Toh, you said that the meeting that was called that Mr. Cummings walked away from was a meeting to look into a violation, I mean, the authoring of the framework document. How sure are you that that meeting of the 4 political party leaders in person of Nyomli, Mbwaka, Ure, and Mr. Cummings was intended to discuss the authoring of the framework as was alleged by Benina Ure? How do you know that?
Well, Mr. Cummings himself was in the meeting from the onset. And so the meeting did not have any agenda.
Okay.
So when the chairman opened the meeting, she said that was the reason they called. And they called in Mo Ali and Augustus Frederick from Liberty Party and the Unity Party, who were on the committee. In fact, as a matter of correction, Mo Ali was never part of the committee. He did not represent the Unity Party. It was called Bangal who represent. So how Madam Yomli Kanga Lawrence called Mo Ali in remains a mystery. But the Liberty Party was represented by Augustus Frederick, and Mo Ali represented the Unity Party. Nobody from the ANC was invited. In fact, according to information and belief, I understand that Madam Yomli Kanga Lawrence said that Mo Ali was called in because he was part of the committee that submitted the documents to the National Elections Commission. But at that time, I was the Secretary General. I personally hand-delivered the documents to the National Elections Commission. Why was I not called in? Why Madam Yomli Kanga Lawrence did not call me in? And she called in Mo Ali. So you can understand the threat it is taking, all to the exclusion of the ANC, with an attempt to use 3-party rule to legitimize decisions. When section 7.1 of the framework document says decisions shall at all times be by consensus.
So, Mr. Toh, I'm glad that
whether 3 parties agree or not, all 4 parties must agree. This is what the document said.
So,
I don't know
Mr.
if they
Toh,
are even reading the document.
yeah, Mr. Toh,
Yes.
I'm glad that you were the Secretary General of the CPP at the time this particular framework document was submitted to the NEC. Have you, since the allegation by Benina Ure came to the public clear, have you gone back to look at the original copy to see whether or not this was actually authored as Mr. Ure has alleged? Have you?
Look, Ansony,
Yeah.
I can tell you one thing. Benina Ure knows that no document was altered. Ure is engaged in disruptive strategy. Their strategy is to disrupt the CPP. No document has been altered. The angels in heaven cannot even prove that document was altered. Ure has no document that was altered. He knows that. And that's the fact. The National Elections Commission knows that there is no document that was altered. But let me tell you this. You see, this kind of dirty politics they are playing, they don't even know it's going to haunt them. And I'm sorry that the chairperson of the CPP, Madam Yomli Kanga Lawrence, is allowed this and is allowing the CPP to be ruined under her leadership, which is an embarrassment to everybody. In the name of politics, without even being cognizant of the disruptive impact and harmful effect of this kind of dirty politics, she's allowing them.
So
she knows that Ure is not telling the truth. 1 minute. She knows that Ure is not telling the truth. She knows that no framework document has been altered. But there are some catch clauses within the framework document which is making a political game difficult. And as a result, all they want to do is to allege and blow alarm that a framework document was altered. And assuming that they will have their way so they can walk away. That's the political game. So we in the ANC know that there is, yes.
Oh no, I was just about to say, now that I call it, you quoted the law, the framework document quite clearly. In case of any violation, it has to be the National Advisory Council that should constitute a committee that will put that meaning an ad hoc committee to probe into any allegation whatsoever. Where are we now? Now that we have an allegation from Benina Ure, where are we? I mean, has that committee been constituted? Is there an investigation going on at this time?
I didn't get that question, please. There's been serious interruption.
Okay, sorry, but I was just asking, you quoted the framework document that it is the National Advisory Council that has the constitutional power to constitute a committee, meaning an ad hoc committee, to investigate any allegation. Where are we with that? Has that been constituted, and is the investigation going on because we have an allegation from Benina Ure?
To the best of my knowledge, there has been no such constitution of any grievance, ad hoc grievance and ethics committee.
And why is that not happening?
Legally and technically, there's no investigation going on. It has not happened because the chairperson, the presiding chairperson of the National Advisory Council, has not lawfully and legally constituted such committee. And we hope that the sooner the better, she will be able to constitute that committee with the full participation of the National Advisory Council.
So with all this happening, Cummings walking out, I think a day or two later, which was actually yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Cummings had a press conference. What was that press conference about, and what was he trying to get accomplished with that press conference?
Mr. Cummings in that press conference drew the attention of the nation and the attention of the leader.
I can't hear you, Mr. Tomei. Adjustment at your end. I can't hear you.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, you are loud and clear. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so in that press conference, Mr. Alexander Cummings called the attention of the nation and the general membership of the CPP to the fact that the fundamental principles and reasons that led to the formation of the CPP was to bring about change in Liberia. And it is on the mantra of change, bringing change in this country, that 4 political parties, most of whom have different pasts, came together with the commitment that they will together work and bring about change. But with the current practice of some of the individuals within the CPP to practice and resurrect some of the old tendencies that the CPP said she was going to go against. Mr. Cummings felt compelled yesterday to call the attention of his colleagues and the entire membership of the CPP and the Liberian population to the fact that this is not what he stands for. This is not why the CPP was founded. If this is going to be the conduct of the CPP, then the CPP is no different from the CDC. So he urged his colleagues to keep to their commitment of bringing change and behaving honestly. And the thing is, if the CPP cannot respect its own law, the framework document, and uphold it, which is about 50 pages, how can she even respect the laws of Liberia if she's in power tomorrow?
Mr. Toll.
So the CPP needs to be fair to the Liberian people.
Okay.
If you cannot respect your own laws of 50 pages, how can you respect the laws of Liberia of volumes of pages?
So, Mr. Toll, the ANC, through its leader, Aloysius Cummings, and also through your office, because some of the communication can be signed by you, have been echoing these violations on the part of other members of this political union. Besides the violation being mentioned, in which Nyambli Kanka and the other leaders calling a meeting to probe an allegation, why are other violations that you know of that you have been complaining about that you want the Liberian people to know?
So, for instance, the complaint written by Benona Uri, the complaint broadly just said the framework document has been altered. The framework document has been altered. That's what it says. And Uri used some description which were very inflammatory, such as by some nefarious individuals. These are the descriptions of Uri. Now, God forbid, without even mentioning anybody, the implication is that the ANC alter the framework document, because the framework document was filed with the Elections Commission during the leadership of the ANC. So by extension and implication, Uri was indirectly accusing the ANC, referring to the ANC as some nefarious individual. These are the descriptions of. Contrary to that, the framework document, and let me just be clear with that. The framework document, specifically section 12.1 of the framework document, requires that if any complaint is being filed, the complaint should with specificity identify the particular grievance or the particular violation. You did not do that.
So you think that is a violation? Because I asked you
that is a violation.
Okay.
That is a violation.
Okay.
The framework document also required that Uri should have cited the remedy he was seeking. He did not do that. That is another violation. On account of the insufficiency of this complaint, that complaint should not have even been entertained.
Okay.
But as if to say it was a collusion amongst the three political parties, hastily the three of them agreed to set up a committee. Even when their colleagues said, look, we have a mechanism of consensus. I disagree. We should reverse the decision. They said, no, we are going to go ahead.
Mr. Toll.
So this is what we are.
Mr. Toll, there is another communication from ANC that was upon an invitation from the Unity Party to attend an event I understand was intended to endorse Ambassador Joseph Yimambwaka as the UP candidate. That particular invitation was turned down by your institution through your leader, Mr. Cummings, and cited it as a violation. Tell me, how did that violate any provision of the CPP framework, and which provision did it violate?
This is a violation. And again, that the Unity Party, I'm hearing on social media that some partisans of the Unity Party are claiming that is an internal affairs.
Okay.
No, I disagree. It is not an internal affairs so long as the unlawful and illegitimate decision reached by partisans of the Unity Party is by far-reaching consequences going to affect other political parties. So this is why the framework document explicitly stated that prior to the convention of the collaborating political parties, each constituent party of the CPP shall have its own convention and primaries.
Okay.
That's why it says to select a standard bearer who is then going to compete as an aspirant to the CPP primary. The Unity Party, without following what the law explicitly requires, organize a meeting of the executive committee at the home of Ambassador Joseph Barker, His Excellency, former Vice President of Liberia, and endorse. And mind you, the framework document says that this framework document shall at all times be consistent.
Well, Mr. Cho, you just used the
words endorse. One minute. Okay. I will come to your question. One minute.
Go ahead.
The framework document says the framework document shall at all times be consistent with the Constitution of Liberia and the elections law of Liberia. The Constitution of Liberia says, and the elections law of Liberia say, parties shall have national convention to select their senate bearers. And at that time, all partisans should be given equal opportunity to participate, so that the result can be democratic and transparent. They say national convention, and national convention means, according to the UP constitution, the participation of county chairs. Now, a handful of National Executive Committee members in Monrovia endorsing a candidate. Tomorrow, the CDC could, assuming Ambassador Joseph Boga won the CPP primary, the CDC could challenge Ambassador Joseph Boga on account of the fact that his entire election from the United Party was not consistent with the United Party own constitution, and as a result, it was transported to the CPP, and the CPP did not follow its own laws and the laws of Liberia, and hence Ambassador Joseph Boga should not be accredited by the National Elections Commission. Legally, that will hold ground, and nobody will say that was the internal affairs of the CPP.
Mr. To,
I'm explaining why Mr. Cummings did not go there. So Mr. Cummings said, look, executive committee members of the UP, we don't even know how many of them, met at the home of the standard bearer, contrary to the elections laws of Liberia, that it required that a national convention or primary should be held, and endorsing. So, secondly, you are presenting him to the population. I cannot be part of that kind of undemocratic process.
Mr. To, I will give you time to explain. But what I want to inject here is that the Unity Party is saying that was an endorsement. The Unity Party is not considering that as a convention. And you know, a party can endorse an individual. That does not necessarily mean that that is a convention. So how is an endorsement a violation of the framework?
The Constitution of Liberia says anyone else who is vying to be standard bearer should be elected at a party primary or convention. They didn't say party endorsement. There's nowhere in the elections law of Liberia or the Constitution of Liberia that endorsement is required. They say convention, national. In fact, they said national convention. They did not say behind the horse convention. They did not say at the home of somebody. They said national convention, which means consistent with your own constitution.
Mr. To, talking about convention, according to Mo Ali, who I understand is the current Secretary General of the Unity Party, he said they had a convention that had produced VP Joseph Yimambwaka as their candidate, and that convention that had produced him is still valid to 2022. And so he argued that they can use him as their candidate. Is that a violation?
When was the
convention of 2017, I suppose. That's a convention of 2017.
That's precisely. And
folks, bear with us here. Mr. To probably might have received a call at his end. This is Focus on Liberia. I'm Ansony Sieh hosting. Of course, this is the Hour of Politics. We are in conversation with the Secretary General of the Alternative National Congress, Mr. Aloysius, sitting in the hard seat and taking all the tough questions. Mr. To, are you still with us? All right, folks, bear with us here. Again, Mr. To is here. He's just having a little technical glitch as his end. I still do have multiple tough, biting questions for Mr. To. Let us hope that Mr. To connection at his end will get better, and certainly he will join us. Another section of this particular interview that I'm going to get to is the idea that Mr. Cummings is Mr. Clean. We will look into that. We will definitely look into that. And Mr. Cummings also has popularized this saying, you can't be doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. So if he's Mr. Clean Hands and the guy who lives by the philosophy that doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is a mirage, has he not been doing the same things that have been done over and over in Liberia as he on this journey to the Liberian presidency? I have that questions to ask Mr. Toe. So bear with us while we wait for Mr. Toe. Let me bring in some of your comments so far. Let's hear from Wisdom Kindness. Ansony, what rationale invites two competing candidates to the endorsement of one of them? This was merely a slap in the face and an attempt to force VP Bwaka down the throat of Alexander Benedict Cummings. Let's hear from Aliu Kiadi. Real change, ANC versus another chance. All right. Let me bring in comment from Stanley writes, Weah was elected for 6 years. Can we have another election when his tenure is not yet over? Maybe that person is making a point that I don't actually get yet. Menipaka Dumoye, splendid. Mr. Menipaka Dumoye, what is splendid? Be a little clearer. Aloysius, you are in total control of information. That is Mumba Kesali. I understand he has just netted a new position in the ANC in the office of Mr. Cummings. Brother, you need to come here so you can be quizzed because you do hold a consequential position. Let us bring in comments as we wait for Mr. Toe. Ronin Wilson writes, the made a hoax of a real national convention and completely violated the CPP framework, and Councillor Toe is spot on. That person writes. Let's hear from Mama K. Yobo Jr. I hope I did pronounce that very well. JMB coronation wasn't going to be validated by Mr. Cummings. Mr. Toe just messaged me that he's making adjustment at his end and he will be joining us. So folks, bear with us here. Let's hear from Paul Smith. Walking from a meeting was irresponsible. That is what he writes. Let's hear from I think this name is Ishmael Dukley. I hope I got that right. ANC talk about your convention and forget about Unity Party. They are independent party as the framework respect. All right, we have the SG back with us, Mr. Toe. Thanks for making that effort of joining us. I know you were coming back, so I told the audience that you will be right back. So, Mr. Toe, you were in speech and you fell off. Go ahead, sir.
So there's nowhere in the law that says that the elections for the Senate Bureaucracy of the Unity Party, which Ambassador Bwaka won in 2017, to become the Senate Bearer of the Unity Party, will qualify him to contest the 2023 elections. No. Other parties of the Unity Party need the opportunity to also compete. By their illegal endorsement, they will not have the opportunity. More than that, in violation of the Constitution and the elections law of Liberia. So the argument by Noor Ali is flawed. It doesn't hold any ground.
So Mr. Toe,
he says he's
go ahead. Yes. Any your thought there? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So Noor Ali is assuming without any backing of law that if Ambassador Bwaka was elected Senate Bureau to contest in the 2017 elections, he's automatically qualified to contest the 2023 elections. No. The Constitution of Liberia is quite clear. At every election cycle, every political party must elect a Senate Bearer at a national convention or primary. which will bring together all of their county chairs.
So, Mr.
Based on their own constitution and the executive committee.
So, Mr.
So if the Unity Party did not follow that and brought in someone for the next election cycle to pass through the CPP who did not satisfy the requirements of its own constitution, that would be a violation. So no amount of political argument can even explain or rationalize that.
I get that, Mr. Toh, but this is a political competition, right? And I'm glad that you are a man of the law. That is your area of expertise and authority. Now, you see that Unity Party, from what you're explaining, that they are in error, against their own constitution and also against the framework of the CPP. So why can't you just allow this to flow so that at the end of the day, their unconstitutional selection of their candidate, you can use it against them and then you will be the only viable guy, and now you're just trying to do some cleaning up for them? How you this good against your own interests?
Well, I just told you, I just explained why. Firstly, what is not done legally is never done at all. The second point is that, look, the CDC may use this against this.
Bear with us here, folks. I sure Mr. Toh might have gotten a call. That's why my caused a little glitch. He will be with us while I await him. Let me bring in some comments. Mamba K. Yabo Jr. again. ABC is very aware of the resistance he's going to receive from the all other, which is why he's unfazed with the chicanery of the all other. All right, Mr. Toh is back. Mr. Toh, go ahead, sir.
Well, so as I was saying, so even in the CPP, first I started by saying, number one, what is not done legally is not done at all. And we in the ANC, we enter the CPP with the commitment that every constituent party will be consistent in adhering to the provisions of the framework document. So under no condition can the ANC compromise on any violation of the framework document. That's one. The second point is the CDC, which is the ruling party, may use the lapses of the undemocratic tendencies of a constituent member party of the CPP to challenge the legitimacy of the candidate of the CPP should Ambassador Joseph Boakai even be elected as a candidate of the CPP.
Thereby making the CPP not to have a candidate, right?
Making an illegitimate candidate. And if the courts listen to the argument of the CDC, then the CPP will be without a candidate. So since we still have time, the United Party must be required to go back and organize national convention, even if that means falling beyond the CPP framework document, the September 30th deadline. The executive committee can adopt a resolution to extend the deadline. But the United Party, according to law, by requirement of law, must go back and conduct national convention. That's what the framework document requires.
To the credit of the Unity Party chairman, Mr. Amin Modad, he was very clear that according to the CPP framework, there must be a convention. What they had was an endorsement, making a decision that we're going with Ambassador Joseph Boakai, but they were going to fulfill the requirement as stipulated in the framework. So that is clear. Let me progress. Let me bring this to your attention. Talking about violations still, you are the most immediate head and secretary of the CPP. There's this too much talk that the Unity Party, the ALP of Benin Yure, and the Liberty Party have not been paying their dues. I think you were in charge as head of the CPP for about 8 months or so. During your tenure, can you tell us what happened with their due payments?
I did not. And there's been network interference. I didn't really quite understand the question.
So due payments is a requirement according to the framework that must be met by members of the CPP, the constituent members. You are the most immediate head of the CPP. You were secretary, Mr. Cummings was the chair. During your tenure, I want to know whether the Unity Party, the ALP, and the Liberty Party were in good standing when it comes to dues payment. What do you know? Were they paying their dues?
The CPP framework document says one of the grounds for the disqualification of any constituent member party is a non-payment of dues.
Right.
For the 8 months that I serve as Secretary General of the CPP, the United Party.
Oh my goodness, what is this connection issue? You know, I hope Mr. Toad data is not being harmonized by the pro-poll government. It was being reported, and this is fact, that data is being harmonized. Mr. Toad, I mean, on a little joke note here, is it that your data has been harmonized by somebody?
No, I keep receiving these interferences. Sorry for that.
All right.
I was in flight when the interruption came.
Yeah,
go ahead. When the interruption came. So for the 8 months that I served, first I stated that the framework document says one of the conditions for the removal, for the disqualification, for the expulsion of a constituent member party of the CPP is a non-payment of dues, membership dues. And up to, including the time that I relinquished the position of Secretary General of the CPP,
right?
The United Party was the most delinquent political party, followed by the All-Liberian Party, another most delinquent party, followed by the Liberty Party. The only party that was current with its due payment was the ANC.
So
yet the CPP took no action to penalize any of the parties for their delinquency in paying membership dues.
So, Mr. Toad, that is on you and Mr. Alexander Belande Cummings, who happened to be the head of the CPP at the time. These people were not paying their dues, and you did not enforce the law. Why?
The enforcement of the law of the CPP requires consensus. The issues were consistently brought to the attention of the CPP, and a decision of consensus was sought. Unfortunately, no consensus was reached.
So why didn't you protest at the time? Because you are protesting now through your chairman by walking away from meeting because of a violation. There was a violation, a gross one, delinquent members not paying their dues, and you did not protest, you swallow it. Why?
We protested consistently and on many occasions. We wrote letters of protest to all of the political parties. I personally signed those communications. The only thing we did not do was to make them public. We did not make those protests public. The protests were internal and addressed to all member parties.
All right, folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is our program, The Hour of Politics, with me, Ansony Sieh. We are in conversation with Mr. Aloysius Toad, Secretary General of the Alternative National Congress, that happened to be a constituent member of the CPP. Mr. Toad, let's come to Mr. Cummings in particular. He is being referred to as the new kid on the block, some people say. But he has been consistent with this saying that we cannot be doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. I agree with that very strongly. Now, one of the things that Liberians have been doing over Liberian politicians is getting in a political marriage with individuals, whether or not they have tinted character. In 2016, Mr. Cummings somehow was seen with a PYJ and others holding hands in a political collaboration. Now, as though that is not enough, he is in another collaboration with United Party that we know that bankrupt our country and stole a lot of money. Those are my words. Why are you doing the same thing over and over? Is Mr. Cummings just talking the talk?
No, I disagree with your assertion. We are not doing the same thing. Look, this is the thing. We know some of the individuals with whom we are in the collaboration with hail from the National Patriotic Rebel Forces. We are aware of that. And we are aware of the atrocities and the looting that was conducted by the National Patriotic Forces, which metamorphosed into the National Patriotic Party. That's one. So we know what the destruction they did to this country in terms of looting the wealth of this country, in terms of murdering innocent people in this country. We are aware of that. Two, we are also aware that some of our colleagues, some of our well-intentioned colleagues, were also part of the former government, and everything was not rosy. Certain things were not good. However,
you're talking about a government that tried to bribe you, right? You're talking about a government that tried to bribe you.
Say that again?
You are talking about a government that tried to bribe you too, and yet you went into a measure with that government.
I didn't get your point.
Mr. To, I'm saying you are referring to the Unity Party government, right? The Unity Party that tried to bribe you through its government, and that's the institution you are in collaboration with. It's not doing the same thing over and over.
I'm not coming to my point. I said, Martina, we are not doing the same thing over and over.
All right, go ahead.
I'm just trying to lay the basis of my argument.
Do so.
So you can understand the atrocities committed by the National Patriotic Front of Liberia, which metamorphosed into the NPP. We know there are elements from the NPP and the NPFL who are in a collaboration. We also know there are elements from the former ruling party, which is the Unity Party, who offended Liberia. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm hearing you, Mr. To. Go ahead.
Hello. Who offended Liberia. But considering the destructive nature and the very decadent behavior of the WIA government, there was a need for all those in opposition, irrespective of their past, to come together and forge new alliances only on a commitment that they will repent and change. So the ANC said to them, neither, like in the Bible, neither do we condemn thee, but go and say no more, don't repeat your past. And they all committed that we will not repeat. Unfortunately, they are repeating the same past today, in violation of their very commitment they made to the ANC. So yes, ANC is not doing the same thing over and over. We told these people, like, neither do we condemn thee, but go and say no more.
But Mr. To, from what you just said, you are not.
They committed to the Liberian people that they were going to change, they were going to be new.
And they have not changed, and they are not changing.
It is not repeating the same thing over and over.
So yeah, I agree with that. Now, so they are not changing. They have not changed. A promise that they make to you from what you just said. But you are stay with these individuals who promise that they will change, they will put on their best behavior. And from all you've been saying here, they have not demonstrated that. So the question remains, why are you stay with these individuals who have not shown any semblance of changing their political attitude at all?
If we are still with them because if Alexander Cummings cannot straighten the CPP of 4 political parties with divergent interests and ulterior motives and behaviors, then he will be incapable of uniting Liberia.
Does it mean he can change the CPP?
This is why the ANC is still within the collaboration. Mr. Cummings is determined to work within the framework of the framework agreement to strengthen and change the CPP for a better Liberia.
Can he change the CPP?
He will. He will.
Tell me how. Tell me how.
He will. Did you say whether he can change the CPP?
Yes, and I want you to tell me how he's going to change the CPP.
So this is what, look, there are laws. The CPP is governed by laws. And Mr. Cummings' actions have been consistent with the policies and laws laid down in black and white by the CPP. He's going to use these same laws based on the grievance mechanisms that are provided for in the same laws to ensure that his colleagues, whenever they are going wayward or deviating, to come back to the spirit and intent of the framework document. And he's committed to this.
And you think they're going to do it?
Thankfully, the moral weight of the universe is with Mr. Cummings in this fight. Thankfully, the laws of the CPP, which is the framework document, are with Mr. Cummings in this fight. And so he's going to use them.
And so what happens? What happens when the individuals don't change, Mr. To? What happens?
I refuse to accept that people in the face of their own laws will refuse to change. They signed onto these laws. They said they were going to do certain things. if they refuse to change, the elections laws of Liberia also provide that beyond the internal grievances of the CPP, there is the National Elections Commission of Liberia. There is a Supreme Court of Liberia, and the ANC is prepared to fight them in all forms to ensure that they respect the framework document and live by the framework document. We're not going to allow them to have their old democratic tendencies under no condition. No. The ANC is committed to ensure that the CPP will live up to the framework document, and no one, absolutely no one, is going to thwart and divert the intent and purpose of the framework document.
Mr. Toll, let me read something for you from your framework, and I ask you a question. Section 5.5 talk about loss of membership. An alliance member may lose his or her membership when a political party resigns from the alliance for cause and is dissolved by the National Election Commission. It continues. Cause shall be but not limited to the following. 1. Inaction of other parties to probe a matter concerning the actions of a member party against the party in a reasonable time. And mind you, we talk about the allegation of Benini Ure, and you told us that there's not a committee be constituted in the first place. Now, 2, the party is consistently maligned, attacked, and brought to public disrepute by officials and affiliates of a member party. You mentioned Ure using these tactics. And also, consistent violation of the agreement by one or more members of the alliance. These are the things your framework spelled out that gave you the opportunity to leave, and these people have not shown any change from what you have articulated here. Even people within your political institution, ANC, want you to get out because the narrative might be very, very difficult for you because you are in there with people you are accusing of every wrong. Why are you stay there when you have a room to do so?
Look, the departure, if there were to be any departure of the ANC from the CPP, it should not be because of the actions of the ANC. It should be because of the actions of few individuals in the 3 other political parties. But mind you, and this is why we are still there, and don't get me wrong, the challenges the ANC is faced with within the collaboration are coming from a clique, a few individuals who are in the executive committees of these 3 political parties. But the ANC has a broader appeal throughout the country to the very membership of these individuals, of these political parties.
Okay.
From the counties to the districts throughout the country. So few individuals who control the executive committees of these parties sit in Monrovia and think they can manipulate and cajole the entire process, even to the detriment. Now you might have heard some of the noise around about the stuff of black voting. And one of the flimsy rationale they gave is Cummings will bribe the delegates. Oh, come on. No one, including me, knows who the delegates of the ANC will be. We don't even know who the delegates. We got the framework documents vaguely said just 3 persons from each district. How do we even know the 3 persons from each electoral districts, the 73 electoral districts, that the UP will bring? We don't know them. We don't even know the delegates the ALP will bring. We don't even know the delegates that the Liberty Party will bring. How will Cummings bribe them? So they bring about this flimsy excuse. The only reason we don't want primary is because Cummings will bribe them. Will he bribe people he doesn't know? That's one. But that whole thing, let me tell you this. They know while they are been sitting in Monrovia, waiting for entitlement presidency, Cummings has been in the villages and the trenches working, implementing projects, appealing to their own partisans, their own bases. In every district. Of the 73 districts in this country, Cummings has implemented projects with the participations of their own membership in 40 districts. To the extent that some of these people are naturally gravitating towards the ANC. As a result of that, they are frightened. And some of the partisans have been telling them that this man is working while people are sitting down, thinking that you are entitled to the presidency. As a result of that fear, they want to thwart the democratic process and give a false impression to the public that Cummings will bribe their delegates. No, Cummings is not bribing their delegates. The fact of the matter is Cummings is winning the hearts of their delegates. That's their fear.
Mr. Toll?
And some of the delegates have been telling them, Cummings is winning the hearts of their delegates.
Mr. Toll, the block voting thing that's been floating around, is illegal? That's my first question. The second question on that is, if anything called black voting will ever happen, based on the processes within the CPP, how would that be possible? Because we are hearing folks in the United Party are trying to bring that forth.
Again, as I stated, that is a result of fear, that they don't even have control over their own partisans. Absolutely. Cummings has won the hearts of their partisans because of the groundwork he's been doing in the counties, in the districts, and in the communities. So to come to your question directly, that thing called black voting, tell the proponents, is dead on arrival. Why? Because one, it violates Article 50 of the Liberian Constitution. Two, because it violates Article 77 of the Liberian Constitution. Three, because it violates Article 81 of the Liberian Constitution. And this is how. Article 50 of the Liberian Constitution requires that elections shall be held based on the cardinal principles of universal adult suffrage, which requires one man, one vote. That's one. It did not say one man should go and cast vote for 300 people who signed a resolution. They didn't say that. They said one man, one vote. Article 77 of the Liberian Constitution requires that all elections within the Republic of Liberia among political parties should be by secret ballot. Secret. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you. Go ahead. I'm paying attention.
Hello?
Go ahead, Mr. Tom.
And secret ballot as provided for in the Constitution of Liberia means nobody is supposed to see who you are voting for. So why would the United Party want their partisans to sign resolution so they can know who the partisans voting for? It's against the Constitution. Article 77 of the Constitution, so all elections shall be by secret ballot, meaning nobody is supposed to know who you are voting for. Not your party. They didn't say your man or your party should know or your party should know. No. They said nobody is secret. Only you alone supposed to know. So if they were to do black voting, my colleagues in the United Party would know who the 310 people are voting for, which will contravene the Constitution of Liberia. The third violation is within Article 81 of the Liberian Constitution, which requires that anybody contesting in elections should have the right to canvass for votes of the political party. How will you be able to canvass for votes of the political party if they call their delegates in a corner and make them to sign resolution? So that whole concept, that nonsense about black voting is dead on arrival, but they must forget it. And as I told you, we'll fight them in all forms, beginning with the internal mechanisms of the CPP, and if they still fail to adhere to their own law, we'll go to the Elections Commission of Liberia, even to the Supreme Court. Nobody is going to get away. Nobody is going to have free ride in this country. You must work to earn it. And anybody who wants to practice shortcut method to extend to state power, and a shortcut undemocratic method of extending to state power, you have us to contend with.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toll, for that answer. Now, talking about the whole thing about delegates, let me share some information with you here. According to section 6.1.2 of the framework, delegates shall be as follow per party: 3 delegates per district per the 73 district, which is the equivalent of 876. And then B is say 5 delegates per county to include county chair. So that's 75 times 4 will be 300. And then 15 delegates per executive council, I would think 15 times 4 would be 60. Each political party leader of the constituent parties equal 4. The total being 1,240. So if you go to the primary, that's the calculation. So how is it that I said that they don't trust their own partisans, for which they're raising this allowing that Mr. Cummings is going to what? Bribe their own delegates from their own parties that they will select? Make me to understand, sir.
Look, all the noise you hear about popularity and having the numbers, those are just Facebook numbers. those numbers from 2017 have been migrated. Most of them have migrated, either to the ANC or to the CDC or to other political parties. They don't have those numbers. What they do have, and I admire the United Party, one sophistication they have is to use a group of 10 persons as Facebook heroes, social media heroes, to dominate the social media and make it appear that they have numbers. They have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. The number of elections won by the United Party has been dismal in this country. District 13, they lost. Cape Mount, they lost. Sando County, they lost. 5 by-elections since 2017 that the United Party fielded candidates on, they lost. So they can't claim any number.
Mr.
One would have expected that even the endorsement, hello?
Go ahead.
One would have expected that even the endorsement of His Excellency, former Vice President Joseph Boakai at the United Party headquarters, would have been massively attended. In fact, they send some of these, how to call them, these BB buses. Kilo Bean, BB buses. They send them all around to collect partisans. But, I mean, the number you saw there is self-evident. We are talking about a dead popularity. And no force on earth can change an idea whose time has come. The United Party must live to reality. That it is time for new ideas. It is time for fresh ideas. It is time for energy. There is no entitlement here. And that's why we say, let's subject ourselves to the democratic process. If you are popular, that will show in your numbers. How come they are saying if they don't trust their own 310 delegates, how can they even trust the quote-unquote 400,000 partisans who voted for them in 2017?
So
at that time, Josh Ria is going to have massive resources. Josh Ria would bribe them?
So, Mr. Toh, with all this treatment, I know you explained that Mr. Cummings is in there and he's going to do everything to change the CPP, because if he cannot change the CPP, then how can he be trusted to change Liberia? So he's going to stay there. But this is what others are saying. The reason, despite of the attacks, the alignment, and all that, you are staying in there in the CPP because you don't see any path to the presidency minus the CPP. What is your defense?
And the fact is, nobody can win elections in this country without a collaboration, without a unified collaboration of the opposition. Look, I'll tell you one thing. Take Darius Dillon, for example. He's one of those who accused Aloysius Cummings of being a popular. Dillon, in his own name, in the name of the Liberty Party alone, can never, ever win elections in this country. He knows that. Do I have proof? Yes. In 2009, when Darius Dillon, who is claiming popularity and condemning Aloysius Cummings today, contested for the Masoreto County senatorial by-elections against, may also rest in peace, Geraldine Doe of the CDC and Clemencio Ure of the United Party. Guess what? Geraldine Doe of the CDC got 95,000 votes, and she won the elections. The second runners-up, Clemencio Ure of the United Party, got 28,000 votes. Guess how many votes Darius Dillon got when he ran in his own name and in the name of the Liberty Party? He got better for 5,000 votes. So the man who is claiming popularity today has never been popular. And he's not popular, he knows. Minus the CPP, Darius Dillon cannot win any elections in this country. But these are the guys who arrogantly try to bastardize the efforts of Aloysius Cummings, who work in the range of campaign for them in the names of petty jealousy and politics.
Go ahead.
Statistically, most of the presidential candidates in this country, when they enter elections for the first time, after participating in politics for 10 years, their results can be dismal compared to Aloysius Cummings, who only enter elections 18 months to elections and came 5th place, unlike other political leaders, even including the former president. In 1997, when our former president entered politics, mind you, in 1985, she won the elections as senator for Masoreto County. I'm talking about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. In 1997, when she entered politics, she only got 9% of the votes. When Chancellor got 75% of the votes.
No, just say when she entered the presidential race, not politics, Mr. Toh. I think you should say when she entered the presidential race, not politics, because Ellen has been in politics for generations.
That's what I'm saying. Ellen has been in politics for generations. She ran in 1985 and won a Senate seat in Montserrat County. Him to run as president in 1997. And guess how what percentage she got of the vote? 9% of the votes. In 1997. Compared to Alexander Cummings, who only spent 18 months to introduce himself to Liberian politics. He got 12% of the votes. Yeah, he defeated the Liberty Party in Montserrat County and defeated most of the other political parties, with the exception of the CDC in Montserrat County.
All right.
This man has achieved tremendously much than most of these politicians around here. Not to even mention the former Senate bearer of the Liberty Party, may so rest in peace, Councillor Charles Walker Bromsky.
Mr. To?
When Councillor Bromsky got introduced to the presidential elections in this country, look at the results. Was he declared unpopular when he contested the second time? No. So Dylan doesn't know what he's even talking about. He doesn't understand history. He doesn't know how to interpret history. He doesn't know how to decipher and analyze history. And that's why he recklessly made a statement against Cummings that Cummings is unpopular.
Mr. To?
He got 5,000 votes. He Dylan.
Mr. To, there has been another accusation against Mr. Cummings that he is using money and infiltrating the Liberty Party. Some people are even saying he is destroying the Liberty Party just for him to get votes and use in the Unity Party as well, accusing Mr. Cummings of using money to buy folks in the Unity Party. We just lost Mr. To. He will be joining us. So bear with us. I have to ask the question. Mr. Cummings is in the news. They are accusing him of using money to buy individuals. Okay, Mr. To is back. Mr. To, I was just asking a question on this allegation in the public space that your political leader, Mr. Cummings, is using money and infiltrating the Liberty Party. And in fact, some are saying he's destroying the party through musability, and that he is on another mission in the Unity Party and using the Unity Party chairman according to Unity Party use. How true are the allegations? And why is Mr. Cummings, if these allegations are true, all of this?
Those allegations are patently false. Mr. Cummings is not using a dime to infiltrate. Look, let me tell you one thing. When Darius Dillon came up and supported Ambassador Burka, it was right. And nobody accused Ambassador Burka of using money to infiltrate the Liberty Party. When even some people in the hierarchy of the Liberty Party openly and in secret discussions say they are supporting Joseph Burka, it is right. Nobody questioned them and nobody accused Joseph Burka of using money. But when other executives of the Liberty Party tell them that they are supporting Alexander Cummings, then, whoa, Alexander Cummings is using money. That kind of simplistic logic. Well, Alexander Cummings is using money. How much has Cummings used on Liberty Party? Who did he give it to? And what did he go? Since they know it, how much has he used?
Well, Mr. To, you know of an audio that was leaked from the ranks and file of the Liberty Party, in which there was an executive saying, hey, we have to go with Cummings and money and all that. Do you care to comment on that? That is maybe something that's signal that money is being used by Cummings in that party. What do you say to that?
So if an executive of a particular party is discussing with another member of the party, assuming that was even true, does that make it factual? I listened to the audio. There was an individual who was convincing another member of the party to take a particular political line.
And you think he was not induced to do so?
Money will come from. Hold on 1 minute. Hold on 1 minute. He did not say Cummings will get the money. Musa Belete is on records in this country that he's one of the richest men. He said that openly. Musa Belete is the chairman of the Liberty Party. Musa Belete is supporting Alexander Cummings. So if that is true, assuming that Musa Belete is supporting Alexander Cummings, is Belete not capable of giving partisans, providing logistics for partisans? Does it have to be Cummings? It doesn't have to be Cummings. That audio did not say Cummings will give money. It didn't say that.
Apparently, Cummings is channeling the money through Belete.
Look, let me tell you one thing. If you know Mr. Cummings, you wouldn't say that.
Okay. I'm going to ask you
If
the
Mr.
question,
Cummings
Mr.
would
Toh.
give money to, let me tell you one thing. If Mr. Cummings would give money to Mr. Billete for few votes in the Liberty Party, it is clear that people in the leadership of the Liberty Party are not supporting Mr. Cummings. Some of them, and they have their own followers. So Cummings is a man who calculates. He knows the issues. He knows the numbers. So if he takes huge sum of money and give it to Musa Billete for some partisans of the Liberty Party, how is he sure that he's even going to get a vote from ALP and the United Party? So that is purely narcissical. Cummings would never do that. He's not giving money to enemy. I told you, and get back to the point. Cummings is in the butches. Right now, I'm telling you, he's going to come out bombing and Mangibi. He's in the communities, winning the hearts of the people, touching their hearts, solving their problems, implementing projects. Of the 73 electoral districts in this country, Cummings has implemented projects in 40 of them. As a result of that, partisans from the 4 political parties of the ANC are gravitating towards Cummings. They continue to hail him. And this is what is putting fear in their leadership, the clique, the cabal, the political cabal in Macerado County. This is what is putting fear in them. That, oh, Cummings will bribe them. No, he's not bribing them. He's winning their hearts. He's touching their lives through projects he's implementing in their communities, giving hope to them. This is what is winning the hearts of the people. And is it wrong electorally to do that? Was Cummings wrong to have gone to Mangibi County and provided 60 kVA generator to the BWI? No, he was not wrong. As a result of that, students in BWI are hailing Cummings. Was it wrong to give money to AMEU for the graduate program? No, it was not wrong. As a result of that, people at AMEU are hailing Cummings. Is it wrong for Cummings to have given money to Tubman University? No, it is not wrong. As a result of that, Marylanders are gravitating towards Cummings. Is that bribery? No, that is not bribery. Cummings, through his generosity, is winning the hearts of the people. And there is no violation. That's not bribery. He's implementing projects. He's not even giving cash.
Thank you.
He allowed the people to identify projects, and he funds the project. Is that giving bribe? What did he do recently? $150,000 to contribute to the fight against COVID, to hospitals, to communities. As a result of that, people, including some of the members of the United Party, the All Liberia Party, and the Liberty Party, are gravitating towards Cummings. He has won their hearts. And they are going to receive a shock at the primary. And that's what they are afraid of. That's why they want to subvert the primary. That's why they don't want primary, because they know they're not going to win. And trying to bring out the fictitious claim that Cummings will bribe the delegates. No, Cummings has won the hearts of the delegates.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Aloysius Sieh is Secretary General of the Alternative National Congress of Liberia, that is the ANC. You are watching the Hour of Politics with me, Ansony Sieh, your host. If you have just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. And we are trying to promote and elevate the political discourse in our dear country, Liberia. I have just opened the phone lines. You now have the opportunity to call and ask Mr. Toh a question. Again, the phone line has been opened, and please call and ask Mr. Toh a question. So while I wait for your calls, I will start to read some comments quickly. And if you are looking for where to look for the numbers to call, the numbers to call are in the scrolling text below. There's a scrolling text below. Look there, you will see the number. The teleconference number is 6. It's right there. Please call, and you will have the opportunity to ask Mr. Toh a question, or if you have a comment, you will so do. Let's read some comments quickly here. Let's hear from Propo King. This guy is always busy here. We appreciate that. Propo King of the CDC. How much the Cummings pay to become Coca-Cola board? No, this is irrelevant question, man. Maybe he asking somebody. I don't know what's going on. Let me leave that. This conversation would have been better if you could have maybe brought people from other 3 parties. Well, we don't have to do that, my brother. The Unity Party people, they are welcome here to come. SG, you are strong. That is a member of the party, so it is obvious he will say the SG is strong. That's what these people do. They support their people. Let me hear from Rodin Wilson. Where this audio that says Cummings is giving money, where is it? Your assertions are fantasy without facts. There was an audio, you have to find it, listen to it. Let's hear from this person. If that was the case, then Cummings who have gotten Costa money long time. All right. So the person is making a case that that money Cummings has been using, then he will have gotten Costa a long time. Apparently, Costa is the guy who cashed out, his support. Seattle Thompson said fake news. Which one is fake news, Seattle? Let us know. Let's hear from Obe here. Ellie won the Senate seat for Cape Mount, not Monserrato County. I've been hearing Monserrato County, and this guy is saying Cape Mount. Mr. Toll, you think that history he's talking about is right?
He's living in fantasy.
Yeah, because Ellie is not even from Cape Mount, so I don't know where he's coming from with that. Let's hear from Thomas Musa. The forceful endorsement of JMB as standard bearer of the Unity Party without the legal primary process against the will of a bloc of Unity Party policy is a complete display of dictatorship in the making. That person right. Yeah, from Swase Tennis Terry Genesis. He is a starter of the Unity Party. He writes, what can you pull out Aloysius to? Do you have to complain to NEC and the Supreme Court? Poor. He's saying that you guys should pull out, and that's why he wants. Let me bring in.
They want free ride, and they're not going to get free ride.
Yeah, this is Aliyu Kamara. He is an ardent supporter of Joseph Yemambwaka. Aliyu, right? The best thing for the Alternative National Congress is for them to leave the collaboration. They have become a liability to the intention that created the collaboration in the first place. In order for us to be successful in removing the government from power, we must find ways to get the Alternative National Congress out of the collaboration.
Precisely, they are wrong. We will remain there and compete. We will not leave. We will remain there and compete. Okay. If they have the numbers, let them come to the competition.
Yes, they hear from Vamadi Dunso. It is better for Mr. Cummings to leave CPP because Unity Party, ALP, and LP are against him, so there is no way for him to win the CPP primary.
Again, it is not Liberty Party, it is not UP, it is not ALP. As I told you, Mr. Cummings has won the hearts of many of their citizens. It is the clique of political cabal, a few persons in their executive committees who are orchestrating this thing. It's not a membership base. Mr. Cummings has won the hearts because of his work of their entire membership, of majority of their membership base, and that's why they are afraid.
Let's hear from Sam Bade, Brother Sieh. To be honest with you, Daniel E. Kase is getting more popular than Elizana Benedict Cummings as we speak. Sooner or later, we will get Elizana Cummings cold shoulder.
So why are they afraid to go into competition with a man who they know it's not popular? You see the irony of that logic?
Right.
Go into competition with him if you know he's not popular. Why are you afraid?
Franklin Roosevelt, right? Please tell him to pay his membership dues in the CPP and let meet at the primary if he is supreme. We will not accept block voting that person.
Simple as that. Guy. Simple as that. Simple as that. Simple.
A lot of comments here, but folks, we may not be able to get to all of them because of time. This person, right? That is Rufus. So what is the problem with Cummings walking away if there is still time for the convention of the Unity Party? Walking away does not carve well for the image of the ANC CPP. My advice is to always settle your differences in-house instead of always walking away. This is irresponsibility in leadership. Leadership does not, leaders do not quit, but pursue to see what needs to be done and happens. The person right.
Quickly, the gentleman is wrong. Mr. Cummings did not walk away because of the convention of the Unity Party. He walked away because the three political leaders were trying to impose an illegitimate committee to investigate wild and unsubstantiated allegations made by Benina Uri, which were allegations who were impregnated with falsehoods and lies. That's why Mr. Cummings walked away, because he urged his colleagues to live and work according to the spirit of the framework document. They agreed, they refused, and they wanted to manipulate the process. So he told them, I cannot be part of any illegitimate or unlawful process. So he walked away.
Thank you so very much. Now let's go to our callers and do them justice. We have on the line Tevina Cole. Tevina Cole, you are live.
Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Mr. Cho, thanks for coming on. I have a question, a concern, and I know lawyers are very, very good at defending even if wrong. But I'm going to attempt.
I'm not hearing the caller.
Oh, okay.
Probably you can repeat the question when they are done.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Tevina. Speak a little louder.
Okay. I said I'm going to ask a question. I understand that lawyers are very good at attempting to defend the wrong. But I will attempt to ask the question. Now that I'm going to ask in reference to Mr. Cummings walking off out of the meeting. It is not uncommon for people to walk on a meeting. I get it, but it's because it means other people do things, and then I mean if everything's right or everybody else do it. I will draw your attention to your own document. I'm sure you're a part of this document, section 12.1 of the framework document, as says that if a political party is agreed and they're in good standing, they should write a formal complaint, can be 2 hours to a committee and blah 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 blah. Now, why did Mr. Cummings, and I mean this is a direct question for him, but I guess you can attempt to answer it. Why did Mr. Cummings not use this process versus walking the meeting, or respectfully disagree and leave with dignity and then file a complaint versus walking out of the meeting and not following this process? Is it safe to say that he violated the framework as well, section 12.1?
All right, thank you, Tevina. I will relay your question. Let me bring in Waymon Kata. Waymon, go ahead. Waymon, go ahead.
Should I respond?
No, hold on. There's another caller. Waymon, are you paying attention here?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Ansony.
Yeah.
Thanks to your studio guest or your guest on the video. Before, I listened to your senator, Mr. Cummings, or the leader of your political establishment. He said in his own word that we should stop doing things the same thing and expect different results. Meaning, all the time we do the same thing and we expect different results. Meaning we should not do those things so that we will have different kind of results. That is teaching, that is belief. Yes, you just revealed to us that in the very collaboration, you guys have rules, constitution, and everything. And the other party violated those rules or your constitution. But yet and still, Mr. Cummings does not have the courage to lead that. He does not have the courage to lead the collaboration. Rather, he's still in there because maybe they want to collaborate to move President we are. You don't think he compromising his value that he taught the Liberian people that you think he's doing the same thing and expect different results?
Thank you, Waymon. Thank you so very much. So, Mr. Toh, there are two persons who call. Can you hear me, Mr. Toh? Mr. Toh, can you unmute yourself at your end, please, if you can hear me?
Muted?
Okay, you are good now. So the first caller asked a question concerning Mr. Cummings walking out of the meeting and quoted, I think, 12.1, that, he needed to file a valid complaint once he's in good standing, and why he did not follow that clause and walk out of the meeting. And that is the question the first caller asked. And the second caller is talking about Mr. Cummings saying you can't be doing the same thing over and over. Is he not doing the same thing he's preaching against? Those are the two questions.
Firstly, Mr. Cummings walked away. Mr. Cummings walked away from that meeting. He was fully aware that there is a provision in the Constitution, in the framework document, for him to file a complaint. In fact, as a matter of full disclosure, the ANC has filed a formal complaint against the 3 political leaders of the CPP to the very CPP utilizing the internal mechanisms, concerning their repeated violations of the free work document. We are awaiting the resolution of that matter. At the same time, we are aware that when they went to that meeting, and this is the reason he walked away, when they went to that meeting, he tried to remind them that that particular meeting did not have the authority to decide anything. And yet, they decided to use 3-man majority to violate the Constitution. He repeatedly reminded them that it was wrong, and they wanted to use, in fact, the meeting did not have any agenda. So, and we were not sure whether anybody was even taking minutes. Whether anybody was taking any minutes in the meeting. All his peaceful efforts to convince them, and they didn't want to listen to him. So he simply told them, look, I'm walking away. I'm not going to be part of any illegitimate discussion. So he walked away, and immediately we filed a complaint against the 3 political leaders, hoping to utilize the internal mechanisms of conflict resolution within the CPP, and this is what he did. What was the second question?
The second question was doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Mr. Cummings is not following that his popular saying. And if you answer that question, Mr. Toh, you can give your closing statement because of time.
Well, I think I explained that already.
Yeah, you did.
Mr. Cummings is not doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. As I said, we knew we were getting into collaboration with people who, some of whom have political baggages. I reminded you that we are in collaboration with some remnants of the National Patriotic Front of Liberia, quote unquote, which metamorphosed into the NPF, the National Patriotic Party. And we knew that. We were also aware that we're getting into collaboration with individuals who serve in the previous government who have baggages. At the same time, the need to remove this inept president was more paramount than the past of these individuals. And because of the commitment these individuals came with to repent, we said to them, like the biblical saying, neither do we condemn thee, but go and sin no more. That was a commitment upon which the ANC went into collaboration with these individuals, unmindful that they were going to break their own vows and commitments of not returning to the same undemocratic ways. Mind you, I continue to emphasize that what is obtaining within the CPP among the 4 political parties is not with the membership of the parties. It's with few influential individuals in the executive committees of this party who feel that they were ordained to always be close to state power. They are the ones who have unleashed a sophisticated network, Facebook propaganda to make it appear that they have everything in the world when they have nothing. This is the situation. And we in the ANC, we understand the numbers. We know Mr. Cummings, he has won the hearts of their very members, and that's why they are afraid. So all they are engaging in is some kind of disruptive strategy, so in the hope that the ANC will leave the collaboration so they can have free ride. But I can tell them, they lie. The ANC will remain. We will force them to compete through primary, and Cummings will win the primary.
Thank you, Mr. Toh. Again, as always, we can't say thank you enough for always honoring our invitation here at Focus on Liberia. We will take your closing statement and take leave of you, sir.
The CPP owes it to the Liberian people to remain together. The CPP owes it to the Liberian people to be transparent and accountable, honest and fair. The CPP owes it to the Liberian people to respect and obey its own framework document. That is the law. The Liberian people expect this of the CPP. The CPP owes it to the Liberian people to compete within its own ranks and file and allow the best to come out. We cannot be criticizing the we are government and repeating the very things that the we are government is doing. That suggests that we are not a viable opposition. Mr. Cummings said no to that. We are a responsible opposition competing against an irresponsible government, and so he's going to ensure at all times that we remain responsible to our own commitments within the CPP. And this fight is going to be long. He's committed to ensure that his colleagues understand that we must live by the CPP framework. Nothing falling short of that.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Toh. We appreciate that. Again, we will always reach out to you when we need you to provide some understanding from the perspective of the alternate National Congress. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you very much, Ansony. It's a pleasure being on the show as always. And thank you for your critical questions.
All right, folks, this is how we will come to the end of this broadcast here. A focus on Liberia. Ansony Sieh. I brought you yet another biting edition of the Hour of Politics. I'm looking forward to people from all political parties. If you are in the Unity Party, and having listened to this interview, and we have some disagreements with all the things that Mr. Toh has said, please drop us a line here at Focus on Liberia. Send out a Facebook message. You and myself will be at it, and I will ask you the question so you can make the case for your side. Menipaka Domoe, Kesali, Martin Momba Kesali, I hope I got that right. You need to come on the Hour of Politics because the politics is getting serious. The songs that closes the broadcast is always, "We are all Liberians." And that song, folks, will close us. Sorry, I can't go back to the comments anymore. I have to get ready to go on the farm. And so, folks, the song, "We Are All Liberians," will close the broadcast. Until we catch you again, I'm Ansony Sieh saying bye-bye.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.